Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day, thanks to viewers, supporters, and now sponsors just like you. Today's rundown is dedicated to my buddy Jeff Keighley, who just crushed it with the Game Awards last night. And speaking of the Game Awards, let's get started with the rundown. There was a whole load of cool game announcements made last night at the Game Awards, so let's take a look. The biggest announcement of the night is probably that Nintendo and Platinum Games finally officially unveiled Bayonetta 3, the highly anticipated new game featuring everyone's favorite gun-shoed witch. Like the second game, Nintendo is publishing this one, so it will be exclusive to the Switch, but there's no word on how long we'll have to wait. In the meantime, Nintendo and Platinum are porting the first and second games to the Switch. Both will be available in one package and are due out February 16th. And Bayonetta 3 might not be the highest caliber game announced last night. Bandai Namco surprised everyone by announcing Soulcalibur 6, an all-new game in their long-running fighting series. It's coming to the PC, PS4, and Xbox One, making it the first in the franchise built for current-gen systems, and judging by the announcement trailer, it's going to look beautiful. It promises to deliver the same familiar Soulcalibur gameplay and character designs, as well as another memorable aspect of the franchise, the monotone narrator who says things that don't really make all that much sense.
History hides away more than one truth.
Soulcalibur 6 lands in 2018.
Let's begin!
Another new game was unveiled last night at the Game Awards, but we still don't know exactly what it is. Dark Souls and Bloodborne developer From Software debuted a short teaser video for their next project, but at the time we're filming this, they still haven't said what it is or what it's called. The teaser ends with the words "Shadows Die Twice," which could mean that this is a sequel, perhaps the long-rumored Bloodborne 2. We'll have to wait to find out more. The makers of last year's first-person adventure Firewatch are taking players to Egypt. Firewatch developer Campo Santo announced their next game at the Game Awards. It's called In the Valley of Gods and will thrust players into the role of a pair of documentary filmmakers exploring Egypt in the 1920s. It will have the same kind of first-person adventure gameplay and art style as Firewatch, with lots of tomb exploration and puzzles. In the Valley of Gods is slated to arrive in 2019. And believe it or not, there were even a few more big games announced at the Game Awards. Polish development studio The Astronauts, which previously delivered The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, announced a new game called Witchfire. It's a first-person shooter set in a dark fantasy world with a visual style that's difficult not to compare to Dark Souls. They say it's still a long way from release, so don't hold your breath. German developer Black Forest Games unveiled a wintry new survival game called Fade to Silence, where players fight for survival in a chilling post-apocalyptic landscape. You'll be able to gather resources, build your own base, and forge relationships with other people in order to survive. Fade to Silence hits Steam Early Access next week. The Game Awards don't have a category for worst title, but if they did, the newly announced Gtfo would probably win. It's a 4-player co-op shooter that looks like a cross between Aliens and Left 4 Dead and is being made by a new studio called 10 Chambers Collective, founded by former members of the Payday development team. That arrives in 2018. Job simulator developer Alchemy Labs has a new spin-off called Vacation Simulator. It offers similar VR gameplay, only in an idyllic resort instead of a drab office. It's coming soon to the usual assortment of VR headsets. Finally, the last new game announced is World War Z, a 4-player co-op game based on the 2013 zombie movie. We're not sure why it's coming now and not when the movie was released, but better late than never. It'll hit the PC, Xbox One, and PS4 soon. That's it for cool new game announcements from the Game Awards, but there was a new trailer for a game that has already been announced. Metal Gear creator Hideo Kojima unveiled a new trailer for his cryptic game Death Stranding. Even though the trailer is more than 7 minutes long, it doesn't really give much away, so we still don't really know what the game is about. All we know at this point is that it's going to be really, really weird. Death Stranding doesn't have a release window. You don't have to wait to play one of the games that was shown off at the Game Awards. Nintendo took the stage last night to announce that the Champion's Ballad, the second and final expansion for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, is available now. It gives players new story missions based around the game's 4 massive beasts, and there's loads of new gear and weapons to discover, including a sweet motorcycle. You'll need to buy the Season Pass in order to get the expansion, and the new missions will only be available once you've defeated the 4 beasts in the main game. Did we mention there's a motorcycle? I know what I'm doing this weekend with my kid. Looking ahead, release dates for several big upcoming games were announced at the Game Awards. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds will finally launch its finished 1.0 version on December 20th. The game has been in early access since March, so this will be the finished version, complete with new graphical updates and balancing tweaks, along with new weapons and the desert map Miramar. On December 12th, Battlegrounds will make its Xbox One debut, but the new map won't be coming to the console until early next year. Speaking of the Xbox One, the pirate game Sea of Thieves has plundered a release date of March 20th. The game thrusts players into a swashbuckling online world where they can join their friends to pillage, loot, and take on other pirates. It will also be available on Windows 10 machines. Over on the PlayStation, the stylish new game Dreams from Little Big Planet developer Media Molecule still doesn't have a finite release date, but Sony has announced that it will arrive sometime in 2018. Given that Media Molecule has been working on it for several years, we're excited to find out more. Finally, the new Prison Break game, A Way Out, will come out on March 23rd. It's developed by Hazelight Studios, creators of Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, and is a co-op game where you and a friend work together to break out of prison. Best of all, if you own the full game, you can invite friends to join you even if they don't own the game themselves. I guess that means you don't have to steal the game and risk ending up in prison for real. And there's one last thing to talk about from the Game Awards, the actual Game Awards. Breath of the Wild claimed the coveted Game of the Year title, along with Best Action-Adventure Game and Best Game Direction. That easily makes it the biggest winner of the night, but two other games also took home 3 awards. The cartoon-inspired Cuphead claimed 3 victories, Best Indie Game, Best Debut Indie Game, and Best Art Direction, obviously. The other game that took home 3 wins is Ninja Theory's action game Hellblade, which won Best Audio Design, Games for Impact, and Best Performance for lead actress Melina Juergens. The Game Awards happen every year and are created and hosted by former EP co-host Jeff Keighley. Congratulations to him and to all the winners. And now for some slightly disappointing news, you're going to have to wait a little longer to play 2 new games from Ubisoft. The publisher has delayed Far Cry 5 and their new racing game, The Crew 2. Far Cry 5 was slated to arrive in February, but has been pushed back 1 month to March 27th. The Crew 2 has been delayed a little longer. It was slated to arrive in March, but will now arrive sometime in the first half of the 2018-2019 fiscal year, which runs from April 2018 to March 2019. Hopefully it comes sooner rather than later. Ubisoft says that both games have been pushed back for the same reasons. The developers need a little more time. We'll have more info on both games very soon. Let's switch gears and talk about some movies because a dino-sized, soon-to-be blockbuster has been unveiled. The first full trailer for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom has arrived. The new movie takes place several years after the events of the last film, with a deadly volcano about to erupt on the dinosaur-inhabited island and destroy all life. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard return to try and save as many dinosaurs as they can, and it appears that the film will be re-examining the depictions of the creatures, emphasizing that they're just animals and not terrifying monsters. You can also expect loads of extinction-level action. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom hits theaters in June. It looks like Star Trek is really going where the franchise has never gone before. More details have come in about the rumored new Star Trek movie directed by Quentin Tarantino, which is, believe it or not, looking more and more like it's actually going to happen. Deadline reports that Tarantino and J.J. Abrams, who's producing the film, have met with several different writers about adapting Tarantino's Trek film idea, and the site claims that the Revenant screenwriter Mark L. Smith is the top choice to get the job. According to Deadline, the plan is for Smith to adapt the idea into a screenplay while Tarantino continues to work on his next directorial effort due out in 2019, and when that's done, he'll start directing the new Trek movie. It's hard not to be skeptical about this, given how Tarantino has flirted with the idea of working on big franchises in the past, only for them to never actually happen. But with Abrams and now other screenwriters involved, it makes this project feel a lot more credible. Not surprisingly, Deadline also claims that Tarantino has stipulated that the movie get an R rating like all of his previous films.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I break your concentration?
Which means it will probably have a similar level of violence and profanity. No other Star Trek movie has been given an R, although it's not as crazy as it seems. The new TV series, Star Trek Discovery, is pretty violent at times and also has swearing.
You guys, this is so fucking cool.
We'll have more details soon. That wraps up the rundown for today. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. I know all that game news is going to make you want to play some games, but don't forget we have lots of content for you to check out. We'll have a new classic episode of VP up on the channel over the weekend as well. So if you dig that stuff, hit subscribe, that little bell, and if you're so inclined, our sponsorship button too.